What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Juju Green, aka Straw Hat Goofy, your movie guy, and I'm here with the writer, director, and star of the new movie Train Dreams, Clint Bentley and Joe Edgerton. How we doing, fellas?
Very good.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you guys too. I'm happy we got a little bit of time that we can really dive into this film. This film, it's rare that you get a movie that truly makes me like reflect on my own life and lets me like it imprints itself on me, and I know that I'll be thinking of the lessons that I saw in this film and just kind of looking back on it and just kind of like applying it, right? And so like it's rare when you get movies like that. And we were just talking about Sing Sing a second ago. Yeah. That's one of those films as well. My father was in prison for most of my life, so I related to that on a very visceral level. But when it comes to this film, I really just dug the photographic, cinematography, how picturesque everything was. I want to start this off by just talking to you about like the decision to kind of go with this level of cinematography where you can just kind of, if you're watching this at home, and I hope people don't just watch it at home because it just absolutely looks beautiful, pausing the screen and just almost using stillness to just cherish the moment in that moment. Can you talk to me about the decision to shoot the movie in this way?
Well, thank you. That's really beautiful to hear. And I think like there's part of it, there's two aspects of it, right? There's the technical side of working with Adolfo Veloso, our cinematographer, who I was lucky enough to work with on Jockey as well. And I just learned so much from working with him on that film that then we brought into Train Dreams, and we started to develop a language that we were very excited to continue developing and to evolve in this film. But you know, I think it's part of it is like you're trying to make something beautiful, and you're trying to, like, for us at least in this one, is like trying to make something that like, yeah, you can kind of luxuriate in, and it's really hard not to in that landscape of the Pacific Northwest and in Washington State.
Right.
But not just make beauty for beauty's sake, you know, like make it in such a way where it serves the story. And so there was always like a push and pull of that. You know, making nature its own character, making sure that like that nature felt like not just like some backdrop for what's going on with the humans, but sometimes, you know, we shoot a scene that's a really important scene where a guy dies, but we shoot it from the perspective of a tree looking down on him. And using like, not to spoil anything, but like there's an area that's been burnt up by a fire, and like trying to find the like stark beauty even in that, this like kind of wasteland, outside of the like the beautiful sunsets and the beautiful forests and all of that.
Yeah, it's so, I love what we're going to get into that conversation about death and how you guys kind of like shoot that and just kind of treat death in a very curt but casual manner, but there's still a chance to mourn and like feel the impact while still just kind of moving the story along narratively. But what I loved about the cinematography is that this is a story about the passage of time and how like we are the anchors of everything that changes around us. And so every time there was just a moment where we just get to see the character placements and just see them be, it made me cherish those moments because you know it's going to change at the end of it. So that was something that I really like dug.
Thank you very much. And yeah, it's a big part of that of like wanting, and the cinematography is a real way to like get into that, but like making the film feel like time feels. And like if you're kind of floating down a river and sometimes it's going really fast and you're hitting all these rapids, and sometimes it's just kind of lazy, and then you look up and you're like, wait, we're 2 miles down from where we started. Right. And I didn't even realize it.
That's incredible, man. Now I'm gonna throw this one over to Joel. Like, let's talk about Robert a little bit. He is an observer type of character. He's almost like I call him like the Forrest Gump type of character, where everything does kind of change around him, but he more or less kind of stays the same. But a lot of roles that you've taken on have been very physical roles, right? I want to know, sliding into and adjusting to this, was it easy or was it a big adjustment playing someone who was more of an observer of the world versus someone who's a little bit more physical, a little bit more expressive?
It's a good question. I feel like one thing I love and I think is unique to Train Dreams is that it's a celebration of ordinary life. Most films take us to places we wish we were, or that we were a superhero, or that we were an astronaut. Train Dreams like puts an ordinary man at the center of the frame, and we go on a long journey with him, and it finds the heroicism in that stoic nature of absorbing the blows of the world, someone who's not holding the reins of life. And I think that most of us feel ordinary, and most of us do feel like the world is happening to us and we're not happening to the world. And that allowed me to sort of feel confident in it, in a way to play a character that's relatively non-verbal, or very quiet and stoic. And partly because I feel more than, for such a long time, I've wanted to be people I'm not. You know, that was my MO as an actor, is to be a character actor. And that meant, like, how could it be something wildly different from who I am? And I think I've sort of often feared exposing who I am on screen, as if my own ordinariness is not enough. But my ordinariness, like Robert's, has intersected it at a place where things that we don't see as epic on film that are actually really epic in life, which is like being in love, being a father, and the fears around that, and that it brings the newest, greatest fear you could ever have, which is loss. Those things are now my life. And so it felt to me like, instead of hiding behind a mask, I can actually do the more scary thing, which is open myself up. And yes, I'm playing a logger, but despite that, it's very personal. And hand myself in the safe hands of Clint, to know that if I was honest with myself each step of the way, that Robert didn't need to be verbose, didn't need monologues about how he felt, because the audience will go, I know love, you know, I know parenthood, I know loss. And they could go, I'm with you, and they can paint themselves onto me as well.
Yeah, see, I love films like that where it does kind of treat the ordinary, like you said, in a big way, because a lot of us do lead just ordinary lives. And, you know, I liken it to like being a child, where everything is just like heightened to like an absurd degree. Like falling in love is like the end of the world for you. Like that F on the test you get is just like, oh my God, like what is my future going to turn out to be? And
or they're like, look, a feather. And you're like, yeah, totally. And they're like, no, a feather.
And it's like we're just trying to capture that beauty that we see in the world every single day. And I feel like this film does that, like you said, just capturing Robert in this way of just like, he's just a regular guy just trying to get by. So that leads me into my next question. I found that this story is very much about resilience, right? But the question I want to ask to you is, do you think, after like working on this film, and I kind of have to ask myself after watching it, do you think resilience is constantly battling opposition or just simply carrying on?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes.
There's a balance of it, right?
Of course. I mean, sometimes we've talked about this a few times. Like sometimes it's about like getting up and like, and after you've been knocked down, sometimes it's about getting up and like recalibrating your life and putting all the pieces back together and kind of like getting back out there. And sometimes it's just about putting one foot in front of the other and making it to the next day. And I think that's what's striking about this film, or about this story. That struck me about the book as well, is like he doesn't know what to do after what happens. Not spoiler alert, but like he doesn't know what to do, and so he just starts building. He just starts doing something, you know, because he doesn't know what else to do. And I think sometimes that's very valuable. Having been through moments like that, as a lot of us have, whenever you get knocked down. Like, you don't always have to have a plan and an action, and sometimes it's just about making it to the next day. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
And I love that part of regrowth. Some of my favourite moments is the kindness of strangers, the way people support each other and help each other. That Ignatius Jack, recognising the absence of Robert and what he's gone through, brings him food. Because what do we need to keep putting one foot in front of the other? We need to breathe air, we need sustenance. And that sometimes just putting yourself in service of others, which Ignatius Jack does, is just offer some simple sense of kindness. Is so profound to me, that is a reminder of our humanity, our core. I hope what our core values is, that the purity of us is that we're actually good at heart, and we're kind to each other. And similar with Claire at the end, it's like this platonic friendship that allows Robert the chance to finally get this pit out of his stomach, at least for a moment, of acknowledging maybe his own feelings of guilt or complicity in the demise of things that were important to him. So to me, strangers and support and other people is a part of that gentle hand that helps us get back in the world when things go wrong.
And I think the underlying nugget of that I want to add to that is like the openness to be open to people, right? Like allowing yourself to be open to those people, because and I, again, don't want to spoil too much of this, but you know, Robert starts off as a very kind of like closed off individual, but it's once those other people come into his lives, it doesn't matter whether they like help him with food or just kind of like stay by his side silently working. It's an impact on him, right? It's that openness of just being around people, which I found to be great. There was this one moment in the film where he says, I worked with this guy for like 6 months and he hasn't said a word. And then he says one thing, he says, that's the only thing I ever heard him say. And he took comfort in that. And I think about those type of things all the time. Like anyone could come into your life, whether it's a stranger or a best friend or a mentor, and it just kind of, it means something in the grand scheme of your life. Yeah. And this leads me to my next question. There's a moment in the film, I'm not going to say where, but there's a moment in the film where the narrator says it was in that moment where he felt connected to everything. And I thought that was like the greatest like thing that just made my mind explode, because I feel like we're always searching for that moment, right, where we feel like we're connected to things. But I feel like in film, we get those moments a lot, just in kind of like small doses. I felt that way with Sinners this year. I felt that way with The Long Walk. I felt that way with Train Dreams. I want to know, like, was there a moment either on this film or like working on this film or watching this film where you felt like you was like a little bit more connected to everything?
I think it's also in life too. When we feel those a lot too, and we think about it as like some grand revelation that we're looking for, when really it's just like, you know, when you meet up with a friend and you haven't seen them in a long time, and you're gonna grab a beer, and then like 3 beers later you're having the best conversation of your life, and you're just like, it's those moments that kind of like that illuminate our lives and carry us through. In filming it, I feel like we got like we had a lot of those little like you know, blessings along the way and like kept us going. There was one in particular where we were there's a scene in the movie where they like he's remembering back to their first kiss, you know, and it's a really like special moment, and it just like for one reason or another like kept getting kicked back in the schedule, and then it kept getting pushed back, and then we had to shoot it on Felicity's last day on set, and she was leaving, and we had to do it in this other place where we were shooting these other scenes, and we were scouting the area, and the area where we were going to shoot it in, it was like not that great, you know, of a location. It's like, all right, well, let's make the best of it, and we'll see how we can make something beautiful out of it. And it was just kind of this area under some trees, but not that special. And then I went there the day of that we were going to shoot it, and I was like, all right, let me go find a spot for us to like, you know, do the best with this. And I go out there, and this area, this little field under these trees, in that 2 weeks since we had last seen it, had exploded with these yellow flowers. And the whole thing was like covered in yellow, thousands of yellow flowers. And also like yellow was the color that we had coded to Gladys.
Oh, wow.
With our production designer and our costume designer. And it was just like, you know, we could have never had enough money to like plant all these flowers. And it was like, oh my God, like, this is going to be amazing.
Someone's speaking to you right now to get this scene done. That's incredible, man. Oh my God, I love that. I'll tell you, I'll share with you just a little moment in my life where I like watching this film, I actually thought back to this moment where I did feel, because once I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like I remember this moment. I was in Austin, Texas. I was hosting for South by Southwest. It was a brutal, like, 5-day schedule, just interview after interview after interview. And this guy who I had just met on the job, his name is Cameron. Love Cameron to death. We're like best buddies now. He's from Houston, has this deep Houston accent. He talks very much like this, right? Every night he's asking me, when are we gonna go out? When are we gonna go out? On the last night, we go out. He takes me to this spot called Allen's to get my cowboy boots. He takes me to get a cowboy hat. He makes it a whole experience. He says, you can't choose the boots choose you. So we were in a boot store for 2 hours. He takes me to get these boots. And then he takes me, mind you, this is my first time in Austin, Texas ever. Like, I'm a California boy, so like the whole culture of like Texas is just foreign to me. He takes me to this honky-tonk bar. And I go in there, and it's like Footloose. Like, right? And Footloose is one of my favorite movies. So I see all these people doing the line steps and the dancing. People are twirling and everything. He says, we're going to get out there. We're going to dance with a pretty girl tonight. And as a California boy, I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, everyone's spinning and dipping, and I don't even know how to do 1, 2, 3. And so eventually, I walk up to a very pretty young woman, and I say, take off my hat. First time I ever did something like that. I say, hey, can you teach me how to dance? And she says, yes, of course, honey, let's go. And she taught me how to dance, and she taught me the little two-step. And I remember I get off from my first dance. I go to Cameron. He says, "How's your night going?" And I look at him and I say, "I think this is the best night of my life."
Oh,
right?
man,
I think this is it was like a first time experience, and it felt like something out of a film. And in that moment, I felt connected to the people. I felt connected to the world. Like I felt open to everybody, and it was just one of those moments for me.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So I got. So now that we're talking about life, I alluded to this earlier in the interview. Let's talk about the way you guys approach death in the film. You've already said it, so I don't think I'm really spoiling a lot. That like people die, but the way you treat it is, it's very curt, it's very quick, it's very sudden, but also very casual. But the narrative keeps moving forward, right? Can you talk to me about? Was it that way in the book? Because I haven't read the book, but can you talk to me about like adapting that from the book, if it was adapted, or was that just a decision that you guys just decided to do?
It was in the book, where it's just like, you know, and the book's only 117 pages, and so everything moves by very quickly. You know, like he describes their first moment, and then in the next thing it's just like on to something else. Or sorry, like Robert and Gladys's first moment together, and then it's on to something else. And it's the same way with death. And I felt that very much like true with life as well. Yeah. I remember losing somebody very close to me, and then a couple days later I had a client. I was freelance filmmaking. I had a client be like, "Hey, so when are we gonna get that delivery?" And I was like, "I'm kind of doing something.
Kind of going through something.
Kind of going through something." And I feel like life is like that, where like you never know when that phone call is gonna come through that's gonna change your life. And at the same time, you look around and something like that happens to you, and you're like, how is the world just going on as if nothing's happening when it feels like it's ending for me? And that's the beauty and the tragedy of this whole thing, I think.
It's what we talked about, that resilience, right? It's balancing kind of like going against opposition or just putting one step in front of the other, right? All right, so I believe we only have about 2 more minutes. And so I have one final question for you guys. I already talked about how Robert reminds me of like kind of a Forrest Gump character, right? And he, like I've said it, he's a simple man for the most part, and the world just kind of like changes around him. It's the passage of time and how he adapts to it is what's so interesting to me. And we have a lot of this in this film. Can you both talk to me about what is the beauty in the passage of time, and why do you think people need to experience that when watching film?
I think, you know, we live, or I live anyway. Spend a lot of time thinking about the past, a little bit of time thinking about the past. A lot of time fretting about the future I can't control. And less time than I would like being in the present moment. You know, and I think that, you know, this is a bit of a conundrum for me, is living in the thing with the people that I'm present to in the given moment. And I wish for myself that I had the presence of mind to be present. And it's not until sometimes we look back with hindsight. For me, it's having gratitude for my career, for example. I'm in the mire, I'm like, I want more, I want this, I want that. It's going. Every now and then it's like this image in my head popping over the parapet and looking back and going, actually, this is a lot to be thankful for. And I feel like time is a good reminder. It's a good healer. And it's a shame that we don't have the presence of mind to understand that time is going to move so quickly. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I mean, I'll add another 2 cents onto it, because I agree. It's one of those things of like, you know, when you look up and you're like, holy shit, 5 years just went by, and what happened? You know, where am I at? You know, and you realize at a certain point in life, you're like, oh, I'll never be 22 again. I'll never be 30 again. You know, and like,
I have those thoughts every day.
and it's the trick is to try and think about where you're at now, right? And be like, oh, I'm gonna in 10 years, I'm gonna look back and be like, oh, I'll never be that age again. And I think film and cinema is particularly, it does a lot of things beautifully, and it does a lot of different things, but one of the things that I think is really special about it as an art form is what you're talking about, that it does for us in terms of time, is that we go into, whether it's a dark room with a bunch of people or whether it's by ourselves, like a good film, you sit with it, and it takes you to, you kind of like teleport somewhere, you know, and it changes your perception of time, either speeding it up or slowing it down, and I think hopefully in service of at times just making you kind of like recalibrate to your own life, and hopefully come out with a deeper appreciation for the time that we have, or another like a different understanding of whatever time we have here.
You know, can I just mention one of my favourite jump passages of time in a movie is in Brokeback Mountain. You know, the scene with Heath and holding the shirt at the end of the film. Just like time and regret and consequence. And I just remember thinking how special it was that stories are often just going, okay, we don't need this. There's a beautiful moment in Clint's film where his choice to have me breathe in and then breathe out, and 10 years have passed.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
And just go, life is so fleeting. And that's why this idea of, one of my favourite lines in the film, which again I won't say when it is when Robert hears someone yell out, "Hold on, you need to hold on to something."
Yeah.
Which is about a physical thing, but it's also like, what do we...
Exactly.
What do you hold on to?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I know we're all out of time, but I'm going to end this with, I think, an appropriate quote that I've always loved, and I'm going to add something to it. And we have to live life forward, but we understand it backwards.
Yes.
The key to that, living in the present.
Yeah.
I think
that's great.
Thank you so much for talking to me, guys. This has been an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.